Hello and a very warm welcome to our viewers. My name is Arun and you have started watching the AI with Arun show. So in this episode, we are very honored to have Vasudha Madhavan, who is a visionary leader and CEO of Ostara Advisors, which is India's pioneering investment bank focused on electric mobility and climate tech. She has over 2 decades of experience in corporate and investment banking, and Vasudha has been instrumental in shaping India's EV landscape. So join us today as we explore the intersection of AI, electric mobility, and sustainability with one of the industry's most influential leaders. Vasudha, a very warm welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Fun, for the kind words and the grand intro. And it's so lovely to reconnect with one of my Excel mates. So it's always lovely and great to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vasudha. So we'll jump in right away. So India's first investment bank focused on electric mobility and sustainability, Ostara Advisors. What inspired you to found this company?
Yeah, I think some level of craziness in my brain for sure. I mean, aside from that, I will say that see, I mean, I have had a long career in investment banking. I've seen various parts of it, starting with the dealing room, fixed income trades, to money market, to syndicated and securitized paper that I used to sell down to multiple institutional counterparties in ICICI Bank when I started, to the private equity hedge fund side of things in Citibank, where I set up the financial sponsor vertical, coverage vertical. So it kind of went through an interesting phase of, debt, equity, everything in between. Advised a lot of different types of companies on very interesting deals. In fact, hedge funds and private equity, the financial sponsor one was probably the most interesting because we could really create new types of deals which had not been done, like portfolio level hedges and stuff like that, which really gave me a lot of learning. I got to collaborate with Citibank teams from across different parts of the world and so on. So when I kind of, I mean, the only reason I would have wanted to at all move out of doing what I was doing was just that I was looking at too many things, too many sectors. So there was this innate urge for me to focus and kind of, look at or focus on specific sectors that I could just bite my teeth into and go deep into. So while keeping the competency and the area of expertise the same, just wanted to create more domain expertise. That was, I would say, one of the initial urges for me to actually go independent and start my own firm, which I did after about 12 years of working in corporate. And now it's 10 years ago already. So and that was one. The other aspect of this was the fact that when we advised large firms, large banks, large companies, large financial institutions, we brought a lot of high quality advice across teams into these clients. And when I moved to Bangalore in 2012 2013 timeframe and looked at the startup ecosystem and the SME ecosystem, more importantly, which are all in the startup ecosystem was more nascent at that point, I could see that this level of advice was not available to these people and these companies. And I thought that this could be a nice sort of opportunity to create a mid-market brand as an investment bank. I'd never really, immediately had not thought of sustainability. That kind of happened in more serendipitous manner. So once I launched my own firm and my own brand, I started interacting with a lot of SME founders, some startup founders, and it was very, very energizing. First of all, to be my own boss, and also then to be working in areas where these are interesting industries. We are focusing on 3 or 4 industries, not more than that. So being focused, working with founders, promoters who are really looking at growing their businesses. These could have been 200, 500 crores, sometimes even smaller in terms of revenues, and how could we kind of help them from a strategic and capital raising aspect. So that was the initial sort of mission. Very, very quickly after I started up in 2015, I came in touch with one of the leaders in the industry. I'll talk about it. I don't want to tell the whole thing now, but really there was this deep probably growing up years had given me this deep connect with sustainability, not using plastic. I had spent a large part of my childhood in Bangalore. So it was really, people carry cloth bags your way before you were told to do it. People are conscious about not using plastic. And all of that. So it just became a part of my upbringing. And when the minute I smelt opportunity for me to work in that area, I just jumped at it, and it just became very integral to how what I believed in. And it just also suddenly it felt like an area that I could build a brand or build a business in. So it was really a very serendipitous experience, and it happened only because I was independent and I could pick the path that I needed to walk on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, wonderful, Vardha. Thank you for enlightening our viewers with your background, and that seems very inspiring. The way your childhood, the way you were raised, that helped you, create something that is really the need of the hour.
Mm.
Was that the electric mobility market in India is, of course, maturing a lot, and at the same time there is a lot of infusion of AI into this whole space. So, how are you seeing the impact of AI and generative AI into this space, in the electric mobility space, in particular in the Indian market?
Yeah. So see, AI has in fact multiple applications. As we speak, we are working with a company in the space which is using AI in a very, very effective manner in mobility. And I can tell you a little bit more about that. Overall, I would say that there have been, if you just look at multiple applications, I can give you a quick overview of them. Uh, Firstly, I think probably the most talked about application is autonomous mobility, where you're looking for patterns which is based on data, and you're looking for actually taking the human element away, and making artificial intelligence really make those driving decisions. So when to stop, when to go, and so many of this which really comes from visual data as well as historical patterns. And so it's a pretty large area for AI application. The other part, I think, I mean, inside an EV there's a lot of AI which could potentially be done. So you're really talking about every component of the vehicle being connected to a large sort of overall sort of software uh, you know a canopy, you can say. And within that, everything goes in. All the data that is generated by each component of the EV can actually go in and help create better decision making, even from a transmission perspective. So so you could, for instance, the car or the vehicle could learn better about the driver's habits, and then optimize the use of energy for that. This could be one. Making components better within an EV. How can we better optimize the motor controller or tweak any of the components of the EV can be done much better. Then there's this whole area of driver assistance, which I already spoke about in the autonomous part of it. There are degrees of that. The other interesting part of it is, of course, predictive maintenance, where you really, if you know what's going on, you're constantly monitoring what is going on inside the vehicle. There's a very and you of course study patterns, and then you are able to automate or make sort of AI driven decisions for when to do what, when something's about to go wrong, or something's malfunctioning, or something could potentially malfunction. Then that becomes another area. The fourth area I would say is really mobility fleets. So how do you optimize really large numbers of vehicle movement, right, in a city? Or how do you optimize large logistic movements between cities? Or if you really want to move large loads, or so it's a very I would say it's a solution that needs to be made for scale, that AI really comes in, right? I can talk more about AI for mobility if you want. You're advising a company there. We can talk more about it, or I just wanted to give you an overview of 3 or 4 really key applications. In
No,
mobility.
those are very cool. I mean, those are very insightful applications, especially the four that you described. So let's talk a bit about the venture capital involved, right? So obviously the market is emerging. There's a lot of applications as you spoke about, both inside the vehicle, outside the vehicle, and the larger supply chain and the routing ecosystem and the optimization around it, right? How is venture capital looking like? What are the recent trends in venture capital infusion of funding into the space that you're looking at?
Yeah. So I would say that I have tracked venture capital, private equity, um, into the broader EV space in India. Uh, AI applications in EV as such have probably been quite a small, if any. I mean, there has probably been not too much there, but because some of these areas are still emerging, multiple EV companies that have raised funding would be using AI in multiple ways. Even an OEM could be using AI, in in their software architecture in the vehicle. Multiple, it's quite likely that some of the mobility service companies that have been funded could be using AI, or even logistic fleet or leasing companies that are vehicle leasing companies that have maybe raised funding could be using some level of AI. But so we have tracked at an EV industry level, where uh, I think 1.8 or 1.9 billion dollars was raised last year, which was, so it has been a constant trend, I would say, consistent trend over the last 3 4 years, 3 years or so, where about 1.5, 1.8, $2 billion or $2.5 billion, going up till that has been raised on an annual basis in India in these areas. So it has also been kind of going up and down a bit, but broadly there's this consistent trend of growth in venture capital funding. The aspects of attractiveness for VC in these areas, or VC, I would say more than VC, I think the key investors that have come into these sectors include maybe sovereign funds, large climate funds like TPG Rise. There have been a fair number of, I think, sovereign funds that have come in, climate funds that have come in. Some corporate venture funds like VP Ventures have been quite quite busy and quite active in the space. So these are some of the categories. We have seen fewer of the typical, usual suspects, or the sort of more agnostic venture capital funds coming in. We have seen more sectoral focused funds coming in into the space. And the range is around what I told you, which is, between $1 to $2 billion on an average in a year for the last 3 years has been raised in just the EV ecosystem
Right.
overall.
Right. Yeah. And that sounds very fantastic, right? I mean, given that there is infusion of fund that is happening, which will obviously lead to a lot of innovation around it.
Yeah.
Vasudha, you spoke about a couple of applications and some of the other areas where you're working with a few startups in this space. So, what are the challenges that you see that companies are facing as they're implementing, in particular, AI solutions in EVs?
So, yeah, I think challenges, I mean, India presents interesting challenges for any kind of automation, I think. But if you can build a solution for India, you've got it figured out for everywhere else. So, for instance, there are some of these very India specific requirements, right? That companies have to solve for. I mean, let me take just a use case example, and it may not really be a challenge. I mean, it is a challenge, but it has, it gives the founder an opportunity to solve for it and create something disruptive, right? So challenge becomes an opportunity. So, in one of the companies that we're currently advising, they have looked at large movement of employee transport. Okay, so they have looked at where are the points where, what are the times of the day and the week and the month, and the year, I mean, across a year in a given city, that you could actually look for patterns of people moving to and from offices in terms of time of day, places, locations, and what are the patterns that are emerging in terms of demand supply, right? Where are the vehicles, where are the people who want those vehicles, and how can they be optimized to make the most efficient use of resources, right? And this has multiple interesting sort of areas which are India specific. So companies that operate, we have a large sort of a large IT outsourcing industry in India. several of those companies operate all through the night. Now, in the night, you need to unlike maybe some developed markets where this may not be so much of a concern, you do need to solve for women's safety, right, in the night. So you have you need to program every trip in a way that if the lady is traveling after 7 p.m. up before 7 a.m. anytime, there needs to be a marshal or somebody accompanying that person through till she gets dropped off at home. So this means a different kind of routing algorithm needs to be adopted. It essentially combines his pickup, also the marshal's pickup, the accompany, and then he has to be dropped back. So these are some of the things. Of course, much larger challenges, including how do you look for choke points in a city, and how do you solve for that, right? Suddenly there will be choke points which you didn't even know of. There is a sudden, somebody's dug up a road, or there's a diversion that's happening. So these are things which best of AI can find it challenging. These are not set patterns sometimes. So I think very India specific challenges, in terms, and this, of course, the biggest, probably the which is a challenge and an opportunity, is that the volumes are large. So you can actually utilize large amounts of data to be able to create a very optimized solution. So you do get access to a larger number of data points if you really are able to collect high quality data points. So that's both a challenge and an opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, eventually, at the end of the day, for AI in particular, you need a lot of data to feed in, and India has ample amount of data to feed into any large AI models.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, let's talk a little bit about the future now. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he has hinted multiple times EV 30 at 30, which is basically his vision of having at least 30% of new car sales based on EV battery cars, powered cars, right, by the year 2030. So how do you envision AI and new technologies contributing towards that vision by, let's say, 2030?
Yeah, right, sure. So I think, in again, in speaking for India, and how the market is different. Firstly, the biggest difference between a developed market, or a Western market, I would say, and us, is that we are a two and three wheeler market, right? 75-80% of the vehicles on the street, on the roads, are two or three wheelers. 75 to 80% of all sales every year are from these categories. So for cars, and then come cars, then trucks, and buses, and all the other four wheelers. So really, the solution, if any, has to be made suitable for these categories. And the other aspect which uniquely defines us, again, is a very high degree of accidents, and road safety does become a major issue here, which AI can solve for, right? So, and then comes more advanced, or just comfort features, for the user, to be able to upgrade their experience. Simple things like map integration, or just ease of access to a connected ecosystem within the vehicle, etc. So I think what India can truly benefit from in order to help the EV momentum going. First is, of course, I think two wheelers and three wheelers, the momentum has already been in action for some time. We have seen a high degree of adoption of electrification in those categories, and that's driven not just by features, but also by the economics of the value proposition. Makes perfect sense. These are smaller batteries. It hardly costs anything to charge them, and you can you know uh, go through the city without creating any pollution, in a very safe and secure manner. Some of these vehicles also have more advanced AI or advanced technology, which gives a better riding experience for the user, riding or driving experience, and it can add to the comfort levels. For instance, three wheelers can be created without the judder or the kind of vibration that come with petrol diesel vehicles. They can be created with better quality suspension, with you know because the transmission is completely different here. It's a battery operated vehicle. It runs super smooth. There is high torque and so on. So these kind of features are able to make it a better driving riding experience. And I believe that ultimately, when you offer good economics and you offer a good experience, consumers are going to want it, right? Whether you're a commercial EV user or a personal mobility user, you're going to want it. And I think India is, growing very fast. People are evolving. People in cities are already getting used to a lot of things that more advanced markets have known. So I think these are the core sort of driving forces for EVs to become 30 at 30. You know, a good experience, good economics, lot of options, being made available would go a long way.
Yeah, no, wow, that's a great explanation, Vasudha. So thank you. Very articulately, very articulate in terms of the way you explained it. So, Vasudha, so you have a great understanding of the technology itself, of AI that's involved in, and of business models and of investments, right? So it's like a whole 360-degree view. So talk to our viewers about some of the emerging business models that you are particularly very excited about.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I think as right now, the way I see it is for the last 4, 5, 6 years that I have kind of seen deals in the space, or more, little few years more than that, probably 8, 9 years. There has been a massive change and shift in, in not just the vehicles, which are different, which you never imagined that these vehicles would be on the street a few years ago, but also there has been a sea change in the way people use them and the applications and the way these can be constructed. For instance, you can actually have purpose built vehicles for multiple applications, because now it's a battery driven or battery powered vehicle, which can be tweaked, modularly tweaked, to create a different architecture for different use cases. So you can have light electric vehicles, from electric three-wheeler e-rickshaws to trucks of various sizes, which can carry various payloads. So you don't have to have a one size or two sizes fit all kind of an approach. So in that sense, I think I would say that a lot of innovation is possible in vehicle architecture itself. Like, how can you create different vehicles? We've seen reverse trikes and three-wheeled cars and all kinds of vehicle designs coming out. As long as they're practical, safe, and economical, I think there is potential for a lot of innovation there. Definitely, there is potential for innovation uh, in the components itself. Because everything that you're today doing is software driven, software. So the entire vehicle has become software defined, right? And this is way more than what it used to be earlier. So every component today throws data. Every component today has electronics to it, and if there's electronics, there's data coming out of it. You can pull it into the cloud and create algorithms for multiple applications. So I think that's really happening. Everything from charging, the handshake between energy, to the automotive, everything is changing. So I think it gives a huge sort of potential for innovation. The third aspect is, like I spoke about it, massive large scale movement of people, right? AI being used to optimize this in a way that movement becomes more seamless, transport and logistics becomes more efficient, and can be more resource efficient as well. So driving sustainability using AI is a very, very interesting theme, and I'm personally very interested to see how we can put AI to use to really drive sustainability in mobility, which is a large use case, and 14% of emissions, and all of that. So
Right. So, was that see with all these innovations that are happening, right, in the car architecture that you spoke about, in the components, and as you rightly said, it's becoming a software-defined uh, mobility infused with AI.
Yeah.
What is the potential that you see for India to emerge as one of the global, let's say, even either as a manufacturing hub or the software design and an architecture hub in the near future?
Yeah, right. No, great question. I think this really gives India a very unique opportunity. What we may have had a play in automotive component manufacturing even earlier, but this really gives us a very, I think, a transformative role that we can play. I think a lot of innovation has happened across the world in battery technologies and autonomous driving, AI, and multiple applications of this. But where we may be pretty good at is actually in emerging market focused design, as well as which is still a large, I mean, a large part of the global south, as we call it, is developing today, and these markets need different solutions to the ones that developed markets have used. So we can really become a transformative manufacturer, creator of these solutions, both services, whether it is software driven, or it is component manufacture, or it is electronics, um, I think, or even batteries, which I think where all of those areas the government is putting in quite significant policy initiatives and focus. So I think India has a very unique opportunity because the ground is shifting, like things are changing. So, the entire ICE ecosystem is moving into this whole, EV ecosystem. Energy is becoming more renewable. So you really today have the opportunity to mass manufacture for the world, for developing markets and for the world, and create solutions that can be adopted easily for these changing industries.
Yeah. So I just want to underline what Musta you just said. So for anyone listening in and who have ideas around it, to all the listeners, to the audience, you have heard from Vasudha about the potential of the Indian market to exist and emerge as a leader in this space, especially for the global south. So if you have ideas, here is a great time to come up with your ideas and solutions and create something for the EV world. Wonderful, Vasudha. Whether one another question, so you are such a well-respected woman leader. I mean, and I say this not just for the EV space, but as a woman leader, what is your advice to other women who are thinking about entering, in particular, the EV space?
Yeah, sure. See, I mean, we keep, we are all of us, I think, who have had a few years of work experience, and have seen and grown through the times really, and are in a position today to either employ or guide or work with other people who are younger. I think it's important to really create a gender agnostic approach to everything that you do. And really, I know that it's not easy, and but we try every time. And um, in my own firm, I can tell you that we have gone out of our way to I mean, our business or our work is a lot to do with numbers, legal. There are aspects of very good presentation, very good communication skills. All of these things come into play, apart from strategic thinking and very sharp sort of insights that one has to share with founders or companies that we are advising. We are uh, there is a lot of responsibility that goes with some of these areas. But in general, I would say, so that's a specific to the advisory role. But we have tried to see how women can, or girls can, actually become part of this industry, become good at it. For the broader EV sector, I think, again, like I said, it's a transformational phase for automotive. It's a transformational phase for energy. Today, new forms of energy, new innovations are coming in. So without doubt, it also gives opportunity for new people into the workforce, which have probably not been there. It is a great opportunity for women to enter the workforce, and in these areas, whether as a startup founder, or somebody with bright ideas wanting to collaborate or work with founding teams, or working with larger companies, working on at the frontier of these technologies. uh, what the only essential ingredient should be, or is that you learn fast, and you figure out the technical and the the as technical as you can get helps. In That's my only advice to women, is that this is a huge opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity, where industries are changing. Great opportunity for women to come into the workforce, whether entrepreneurially or in a sort of more a larger setup. The only requirement is that you're curious, you are willing to work hard and learn. And these sectors that are opening up, everybody is learning, everybody is picking things up. So you are having as much of a level playing field as it can as it can get. So please put in that hard work to learn, and look out for opportunities that you can really make a difference. So this is a great opportunity for women to participate and become more prominent in the workforce.
Yeah, no, thank you, Vasudha. I sincerely hope that this particular thing, episode in particular, right, inspires a lot of women to jump into this emerging space and create something new and unique. Like you rightly said, this is a new space. Everybody is learning, so might as well
Yeah,
learn and create something new. And thank you for being such an inspiring person to many other, not just women leaders, I should say, but to many other people who can come in and explore. So awesome. So Vasudha, with that, we'll jump on to the third segment of our show, which is the rapid fire round.
okay,
All right. So
sure.
here's my first question to you. What is the most promising AI application in EVs right now?
I would say autonomous applications, various degrees of the autonomous mobility would be very, very interesting to see how it progresses. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's great. I drive a Tesla myself, so I can see the technology being so inspiring
Yeah.
and magical sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. The next one I have for you. That's what is one book every aspiring AI in EV entrepreneur should read.
Yeah, well, I think you should probably read Elon Musk's book, I would assume. It's probably essential reading in that sense. I was also trying to look for if there is an English edition available. So one of the founders I worked with in the first deal I did way back in 2017-18 in the EV space was acquiring a company called Ampere Vehicles, which was founded by Hema, of who then went on to write a book about her experiences. And I was looking to see if an English copy is available, but that's something that I would recommend, just to understand how a journey can be. And so somebody building in this space, in the earliest, she's a pioneer in the Indian EV industry. So I would think that that's also something that one should read.
Oh, that's fascinating. All right. The third one I have. What is the biggest misconception about AI in electric vehicles?
Biggest misconception. Ah, that you can, you could be a bad driver and still expect magic, or the road conditions can be whatever, but still expect magic. So I think, good. Not, I mean, unless you are getting to full autonomous, an EV still requires you to be a very disciplined driver, and road conditions to be, somewhat good. So I think, AI can only help, but some of the basics have to be taken care of. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's still that human in the loop, that element
Yeah.
that has to be. Yeah,
Until we go full autonomous. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Okay. So the next one, your go-to strategy for convincing skeptical investors about the potential of AI in EVs.
Hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest proof of, I mean, for any investor, I think what we have uh, tried to do is to say that today AI is not just a technology innovation. It is not just the frontier of technology in mobility today, but it can drive sustainability. It can drive resource efficiency. It can make life better in a large, overcrowded city, right? It can actually create more business, and it can create innovative business models which can disrupt the market, right? Just from a scaling up perspective, these are good reasons. And once the investors see the data around these, some of these angles and aspects, I think they do see that as a compelling investment opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, seeing is believing, I guess, right? So
Yeah,
in your world, investors are used to seeing data, and the more they see it, the more they believe in it.
absolutely.
Awesome. And then the last one that I have for you is, if you could have dinner with any AI or EV industry leader, who would it be?
Ah, interesting. uh AI industry leader, I would
Or even in the EV space, either AI or EV.
yeah, I would probably want to sit down, with that person in China who first saw this coming, and, and probably made those, initial investments. And it would be really interesting to know how that got identified, and they are way ahead of the curve of the rest of the world, in making crucial investments into the foundational aspects of electric mobility adoption across the world. So it would be really interesting to know how that all got started and what triggered that thought,
Yeah, yeah,
and strategic steps that the country has taken. Yeah, it
yeah. No,
probably
you're right.
is
Yeah,
dinner to get. I mean, I probably would never going to get that, but
yeah. No,
uh,
China has made significant investments. I mean, you can see with BYD and others, right? They are so cost effective. At the same time, they are at the same software and the hardware level as any other leading company in the world. So they have made phenomenal success.
yeah, yeah. Also, they have the foundational battery minerals and the whole value chain sorted out, which is become a globally a crucial source point now. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. All right, Vasudha, so that brings us toward the end of the show. I want to take a moment to thank you for your time, and this has been such an insightful session for our audience.
Thank you so much, Arun. Thanks. It was wonderful talking to you.
Right. Thank you.